Welcome back, collective. And we are joined here by the infamous Angel. And
Infamous.
so, this is a part of the series that we are doing on life after loss. And in this episode, Angel will be um, guiding me as I share my experience with the loss of my mother. So, okay, Angel, let's go. Let's take it
Let's
away.
do it. Tell us a little bit about your mom.
My mother was, um, she had a very fiery personality. She was very outspoken, very spunky, very, I wouldn't say she was funny, but I do think that she had a way with words. Like, she was very plain spoken, and that could be funny or shocking, some of the things she would say. Um, she was also a very, very good friend. She had so many meaningful relationships. She was a girl's girl.
Mhm.
And she was also very smart and very hardworking. Um, yeah. So that was my mother.
What else?
She dressed very well. She always kept her hair done. She was very pretty. Like, I always tell my sister my hands are just like hers. I had even my fingernails curved like hers did. Like, sometimes when I'm looking at my hands, like, "Oh my god, I have my mother's hands." And she always smelled good, like, she was really into perfume, and it's so funny because now that I'm saying those things, it's like, "Oh my god, I'm like her in that way." And she liked jewelry. She always had on, like, a nice watch and bracelets, and, yeah, that was her. She was a small package. I'm 5'2", and I was taller than her, so she may have been 5 feet. May have been 5 feet. So, yeah, and she was
When did you become 5'2"?
I've been 5'2", girl, don't play with
Okay,
me. I'm 5'2", okay?
okay.
I'm 5'2".
What
I'm
about
very
your
proud.
name? What about your
Oh!
name?
Yes, so we have the same name, except that I have a middle name. My mother did not have a middle name. So I'm not her first daughter. Well, my older sister was named after my mother's sister, and I was named after my mother, and my sister was named kinda like my sister's name is Lynn and my aunt's name is Linda, and my
Mhm.
brother was named after my grandmother's brother, whose name was Nathaniel. So she kinda named us. I guess we all have family names, but she wanted everybody to name their daughters Diane, and I was not going to. My sister did name my niece Diane, so there were 3 of us at one point. Um, but yeah, so I'm we have the same name, the same first name.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that name.
I forget that. I forget that.
Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Miss Diane in its fullest truth.
Our relationship was very complicated. Like, I am the second daughter of a second daughter of a second daughter, and with that always came so much responsibility.
Mhm.
We were very different women. For as much as we were alike, we were very different, and I think a lot of it had to do with the time that that I was born and she was born. She was very different from my grandmother.
Mhm.
My grandmother was born in 1920s in Alabama, in Mobile, Alabama, and so my grandmother's experience was very different from my mother's experience. Like, my mother was born in Cleveland, right, in the '50s.
Mhm.
It's a very different time than my grandmother's, and I was born, of course, at a later time than the '50s, at a very different time than my mother's, and I had a very different experience than her. And
Mhm.
I always say that I'm more like the women in my father's family, like, I look more like them. I'm more we're just I just always felt like I fit in more with my father's family, and not just because looks, but just because I feel like we were raised. I think we have a different, I think that my father's mother raised them with love.
Mhm.
I think that my grandmother raised my mother. to survive, and I think my mother raised us on survival. We weren't really raised with a lot of love, and that's something that I really do feel like, oh my god, that was lacking, like love in the way that I could receive it.
Mhm.
And there was
Mhm.
provision there, and there was a lot of tough stuff, like, I think that she wanted to make me tough, so I think that a lot of things when she looked at me, she saw weakness, like, I'm very emotional, I've always been a crier, but that never stopped me from getting things done, and I think that she did a lot of things to kind of, toughen me up and just help me figure out things on my own, and I think some of it was traumatic.
Mhm.
So yeah, we had a very difficult relationship. We didn't understand each other. We didn't get each other.
What is it about the relationship that you want people to understand?
I don't know that I want people to understand anything. For me, it was important to understand that I can accept the fact that she loved me in the best way that she knew how. She showed love the way she had been shown love. And my mother used to always say to me that she gave me everything she had. And if she didn't have it, it wasn't in her to give to me. And that was a very bitter pill for me to swallow because I felt like I watched her love and nurture, like, my sister or my brother. But I felt like for whatever reason, she couldn't be that way with me, and I think there was some trauma associated with the fact that I do look so much like my father's family because they had a terrible relationship. So I
Mhm.
do think that when she saw me, she saw someone who looked like him and his family, and I think that was kind of a trigger for her.
What is it that you didn't receive from her?
I didn't receive encouragement. I don't think that I received love in the way that I needed it. I didn't think I got a lot of good stuff from her. I think that the I think the um, oh my god, Angel. Did I send you these questions? Look,
Mhm.
flag on a play. I think I didn't receive a lot of positive affirmation from her just growing
Uh-huh.
up, and I didn't receive a lot of validation. I didn't feel seen or heard growing up. I think that's where I kinda learned to shrink myself just 'cause nobody's gonna listen, so, you just kind of don't say anything. So, yeah.
I'm gonna go off script a little bit
Mhm.
because um do you think that you received that treatment because you didn't need as much as your siblings? And if so, when you think about your own kids and how you've raised them, who is your child that reminds you most of yourself?
Well, that's a good question. That's a great question. So I do think that my older sister, we were like 6.5 years apart. So I b- she had a lot of emotional problems growing up, and so whatever was happening with her was always at the front of it. It was always at the center
Mhm.
of it. And then my younger sister was kind of like a busy person, like she was always like hyper, and so I kind of, I do think that I did well in school. I was quiet. I was well mannered. So um, I think that what I needed kind of got pushed. I do think I kind of got forgotten, but I also think that there was just an expectation that, oh, I'm good. I don't need anything when I did. And I feel like
Mhm.
when I did make mistakes, it was always a big deal. Like, like you would think that when the person that doesn't really get it when they make mistakes, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but it was a big deal.
That
Um,
you would get some grace. You would
that
think
I
you'd
would
get
get
grace.
some grace. Yeah, but
Mhm.
I think in a lot of ways that she felt like I was her, I I'm not gonna say this. So you know how I think she was a teenage mother. She got pregnant with my sister when she was 15 and had her when she was 16. And
Oh.
my grandmother was very religious and they were always in church. And my mother, back at that time, you had to apologize. Like she had to stand up and apologize to the church. And that kind of was a source of trauma for her. And I
Mhm.
think that she kind of, um, I think that there was a stigma that went along with that, being
Mhm,
a teenage mother, having my sister so young. So I think that, when I was born and I was so quiet and so smart, I think I made her look good. So I think that
mhm,
when I made mistakes, or it made her look bad, and she didn't like that. I don't know where I was going with this, but I have 2 kids, I think, who were often overlooked,
mhm,
and I always have to kind of, check myself with them, like, when they go through things now, like, I have to remember that because we have 6 kids, and we have
mhm.
3 kids who were really just needed a lot of our time and our energy, and then we had a little baby who, of course, the baby's gonna get attention. Then there were these other 2 kids who were in the middle, I think, that who did not get a lot of what we just kind of felt like, "Oh, they'll be fine. They're good kids, they're good students." So I do wonder, and I do have to check in with them and make sure that they're okay now, because now I can see the cracks. I can see where they didn't get what they needed from me
Mhm.
at that time.
I was gonna say that now that you have children, do you understand your mom a little bit more?
Absolutely. And
So
so,
there.
um I definitely have more grace with her now that I'm a parent, and then now that my kids are older also. Well, honestly, probably before. I think that once my kids became teenagers, you kinda look at things differently, and especially now, like, with menopause and with going through menopause and
Girl, as you sometimes I wanna include this type of stuff because it's so funny.
Right?
I'm like, welcome to," but okay. Um, as you got older and you became a parent, did you start
Yes.
to
That's
understand
the
your
part.
mother?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. Absolutely, especially when my kids became, teenagers, because it's a lot, and that's when I, like, started to drink. But, it's a lot, and then even more so, like, my mother was younger when she went through menopause because she had surgically, and so I
Mhm,
understand why she was so I get it now because, my kids are young adults now, and I'm in full-blown menopause. I have 1 child. I could not imagine having kids and grandkids to actively raise because she was in her 30s,
mhm.
which means I was like 10 or 11 or something. So, I couldn't imagine having kids to actively parent so young going through menopause by myself as a single parent. So I definitely have so much grace, towards her now.
Yeah, she was raising kids from, up until her
So
death, she
before
was
she
still
died.
raising kids,
Yep,
so that's
yep,
a lot.
yep.
What changed in the last year of her life that made it the best year of your relationship?
Yeah, so they had actually and my sister brought my mother there. I think they came to drop Tyler off to spend spring break with us, and her friend drove up to meet us there with her daughter, and my mother got sick. And do you remember my mother got sick and she had to be hospitalized while she was in Virginia. And my sister went home and she ended up taking my nephew back home because my mom had to stay here. And she was in the hospital for like 4 or 5 days, maybe even a week. She was in the hospital in Virginia for a week, and I was, going up there to, just to, try to be supportive of her, and when she came home the next weekend, I was gonna meet my sister so we could, like, exchange her so she could go home and see her doctors. But at that time, we kinda found out that her cancer had, come back. She had what she thought was a calcium deposit in her chest. It was hard, you could feel it. They said it was a calcium deposit, but it was
Mhm,
actually, it was that her cancer had returned and it had metastasized, to her bone, her liver, her lungs, her brain. It had spread everywhere. So I think that, during that week and when she was there, like, she tried to help, and I was like, "I don't need your help," like, don't, because she knew, we had a lot going on. It was 5 kids there at the time, and I was like, "No, I have it," She was like, "You have so much going on," and, She was like, "I'm so proud of you. You are such a good mom. Like, you really are there for your kids." And I think that kind of softened things a little bit. I think that she was able to see things a little bit more from my perspective, and I was able to see things from hers. Like I always tell people I recall 2 compliments that she's ever given me. One time she had been drinking and she said I was pretty, and then when she said I was a good mom, like, those were
Mhm.
compliments, but from that point on, like, even when she went home, they said at that point that, they offered her treatment, she didn't wanna do it, and they said that there was nothing else that they could do then without the treatment, and we started to just talk on the phone all the time for a long time about nothing, and I felt like, um she ended up living for, like, a year, and I felt like for that last year, I had the mother that I always wanted. I had the relationship with her that
Did you recognize the softening during that time?
um, I do, and also during that time, that's when she said to me that she had given me everything that she had, and
Mhm.
if it wasn't in her to give to me. And I think that time I accepted it because I think she had said it before. She had said it before in different ways previously, but I think that at that point, that's when I was able to accept it and receive it. And I think that that's what kind of softened everything
Mhm.
for me.
How do you grieve a mom that you love so deeply but had a somewhat complicated relationship with?
I think that I'm able to kinda separate my mother from the woman that she was,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'm able to kinda separate. So I think that I grieved her in a very honest way because I could still acknowledge that there were things that I didn't get from her as a mother, but then just as a woman, I can understand why I didn't get them because she just didn't have them in her to give to me. So I think that I grieved her in a very honest way. I think I was very honest about who she was and, the impact she had on me because I always say that, I wouldn't be who I am without her. Like, I think that things had to happen the way that they did. I had to be who I was. I had to be raised in a lot of ways. I'm resourceful because she made me figure things out on my own.
Mhm.
I needed that. Like, I needed that with these kids and this life I have now. I needed to know how to figure stuff out. So I needed all of that. I forgot what the question was, but I hope that answered it.
Would you say that your last year with her gave you something more? Did it help you understand her more? Or do you find now that you have more of an understanding for her as your kids grow up and you parent them?
I think that the last year I was able to offer empathy in a way that I wasn't previously. And even with her, I think I was very critical of her and the way that she navigated her treatment and the decisions that
Mhm.
she made regarding her own life. But I think that now, as a mother of young adults, having been through the whole teenage phase and this whole young adult phase, I definitely understand her. And I understand her so much more now, and I even question the way that I recall things, like, maybe, that's the way that I recall it, that doesn't mean that it's the way that she meant it or the way that she experienced it. Do you know what I'm saying? And it helps me with my
Definitely.
kids too, because they recall things, and I'm like, "What? I never
That's
said
not how it
that."
happened.
But
Right.
right, right. So, yeah.
How does your parenting style resemble hers? And then what's different about it?
I think that I'm a very different parent than she was, and I think that I have the luxury that she did not have. My husband is a very involved father, so I have support in that way. I have the financial support that she did not have. And I think that because I'm not just overburdened with providing, and just because
Mhm.
I'm a loving person, I think I was able to love to show my kids love in the way that I would have liked to receive it.
Mhm.
But also I think that I've kinda handicapped them too because I am a helicopter parent, and I do parent them from my traumas. You know, I do
Mhm.
fix a lot of things that I shouldn't fix, and I do, save them from the lessons, the hard lessons. So I think it's a double-edged sword.
That's actually a good problem to have as a parent. It's better to give, in my opinion, I just think it's better to give your kids too much than to have them come back and say, "You haven't given me enough." So I think it'll work itself out. How do you honor your mother honestly without pretending the relationship was perfect?
Yeah, I think that I'm like, and I just mentioned this, I'm very clear on the fact that I am the woman that I am because of the way that I was raised. And I think that I honor her with my life. I think that I honor her in the way that I raised my kids. And I tell the truth. I'd be like, oh, my mother could, she would cuss you out. My mother had a way with words, baby. She could fight with her fist and with words. She was like a
Uh-huh.
double threat. Like she could just, and I'm honest about that. I don't be like, oh, well, she was like a saint. No, my mother, that lady she could go to the gutter, like with her words and with her fists, you know? So, I'm
Who
very
does that sound like though? Who
I
does
know it's
that
a lot like me, like, I can definitely go
Yes.
there. 100%. I am who I am, baby, I am.
Isn't it
I just
funny
have
how
little
you can't relate to her when you're younger and then it's like you've grown up and you've somewhat morphed into her?
into
You
her.
are very much like your mother. Even though I've always thought there's a difference, but I've always thought you were a lot like your mom, and I definitely see it in your parenting, all the good things, because
Mhm, mhm.
I didn't see that same side of your mom.
Yeah,
As a friend is very different, but
yeah,
you remind me so much of your mom.
yeah,
Um,
girl. Mhm.
what did the last year with her teach you about grace, forgiveness, and the possibility of peace before the goodbye?
Um, I'm very thankful for that last year, and I think that it taught me to accept her for who she was and not who I wish she had been to me all of those years.
Uh-huh.
And it also kind of forced me to, um, I've been in therapy for 30 years since in my 20s, right? But I think that it kind of narrowed down areas still that I needed to work on. Like I always say that I'm not very forgiving, and my mother never asked for me to forgive her. Let's be clear on that. She never said she was very like, "I did the best that I could," like,
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, no, I'm not forgive for what?" She never asked for
Mhm.
forgiveness, but I do feel like I forgave her because I do think that in her mind, she was doing what she thought was the best thing to do, and I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if it answers your question.
It does. And do you find that as the years go by, you do give her a little bit more grace? Like the older you get, the more you understand her, so your memories maybe are a little bit more soft. Like, your memories of her, you can take the more of the good than the bad
Oh,
as the
yeah,
years go by.
absolutely. For sure. Absolutely. I definitely think that with time and then just, um, having a little more experience or like she
Mhm.
just living a little bit longer, I don't think you can get to be a certain age. I think there's something wrong if you can still be so hard and unforgiving after having lived a life full of experiences, right? So I
Mhm.
do think that life has taught me to be more gracious to myself and also to others, but especially to her because, like I said, I have things that she did not have. I have a level of support and security that she absolutely did not have. There was nobody, my grandmother helped her, but other than that, there was no man there who could help her. Like there was nobody there willing to kind of lighten her load significantly or support her in the way that she needed to be supported when you're taking care of these kids and grandkids. So, I do have a lot of grat because I can't even imagine how I would have done it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, with just me, and I just can't even imagine. So
I wish she could see you now and your kids and see you as a mom. Is
I
there
believe she
anything?
can. I
Hmm,
believe she can. I believe she can. Like I we talked about this. I told you sometimes I can smell her. Like
mhm.
I smell her perfume. I smell the cigarettes that she smoked. So I believe that she can see me and experience me. And I do believe that she would be proud of me and proud of my kids. So yeah.
I'm sure she would. I'm positive that she would. Is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to add?
I think well, one thing I do wanna say is that what another thing I learned from her is to really take charge of my health and advocate for myself.
Mhm,
Um, I am ferocious about getting my mammograms, and I have an MRI. I have an MRI and twice a year. Every 6 months, I have a mammogram, and well, in 6 months, mammogram, and then 6 months after that, I have an MRI. So I am very, I see all the doctors, girl. I have all the
mhm,
specialists. I really do take charge of my health only
mhm.
because I think that, I'm aware. I wonder how much of her experience was because she was a Black woman now that, all of these disparities in healthcare have come to light. I worry about that. I worry if, some of that was because of that, but I'm a very, very strong advocate for my health, and I'm very involved, and that's something that I learned from her struggle with breast cancer, and the treatment that she received. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything that you have not asked me.
Okay, I think it's just, you are so similar to your mom in a lot of ways and all the good ways. So I know she would be
Mm,
very proud of you as a woman and as a mom. You are just kind of like a super mom. You are doing it
oh,
all.
girl, thank you. Oh my goodness.
You're doing it. You're raising, like, you have raised those kids and you've just given them so much love. And in that regard, I think you just are like the best of her,
Oh,
the best part of her. So I know she would just be so proud. That was my girl. I loved
I
her.
know, girl. I know. Even though she would have me in tears, I would be like, I can't believe she did it. But yes, she was your girl. But I think you can relate to that part of you kind of help bring out that part of me that's like her, that little,
The good stuff,
it's all good.
all the good things, and that's just who we are. I didn't realize your mom was that young when she became a parent. Can you
Mhm.
imagine when
No.
we met at McDonald's
No.
being
Parents?
moms?
No. No, I couldn't.
It's
No.
unfathomable,
No,
you
it's
know?
they literally like, she literally was a baby herself,
She was
having
raising
a
kids her
baby
whole
her
life.
entire life until the day she died. She was. Yes, absolutely. She was.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I do think that in a lot of ways, I'm like her. Like, I always say that, I don't like to argue because I know I can go there. I
Mhm.
also don't like to argue because I know, and I'm not proud of this, I know that I will fight, like, and I'm not, because that was my mom. Do you hear me? My mother would, like, she would get down with the get down, and you would never believe it, because you just wouldn't believe that that lady could do all of the
I
stuff that she
believed
did.
it. She's like, "I don't have to cuss you out." I'm like, you are so similar to her. It's so funny, when you think about growing up and you think about our moms and how we have literally morphed into them. And so all the good ways, though, all the good ways. You are so similar. You have her name and you
Yes.
are a lot like you, just like a more evolved mom. You became a mom. You had a lot more time to mature
Yeah,
into being a
absolutely.
parent. So,
Mhm.
I know she would just be so proud. So proud.
Thank you. I would like to think she would be.
I know she
Thank you.
would.
Thank you, Angel. That was so sweet. Thank you for taking time out of your day to interview me. S- thank you so much. If your mother is still here, and I know I tell all of my friends who have parents to honor them while they are here because there will come a day where they're no longer here and you won't get to go back and replay or redo any of those things, and everything will be different. and just honor them while they're here and try to work it out while they're here because tomorrow is not promised. Like those, work it out, whatever that looks like, work it out. I'm so thankful that I had an opportunity to kind of work things out with my mother. I'm so thankful to God for that. But that's it. I hope that we kind of gave a little bit of hope and inspiration to people who are now living without their mothers. And I hope that you celebrate your mother in a way that mattered to her. I know that my mother loved lemon cake. So for her birthdays and stuff, we always have a lemon pound cake or lemon something. Thank you, collective. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And thank you, Angel.
Of course.